latest episode of Just Another Year Chicago. My name is Dick Brody. I am joined alongside my good friend and co-host Tony Sapita. And today we know the Bears are 500 right now. They're sitting at 3-3 after week 6, but it's not like they're a bad 500 team. The Bears are playing tough teams right now. They're keeping it close except Cleveland and are getting better every single game. But today we want to explain to you why the Chicago Bears will make the playoffs this year. But before we dive into it, we'd like to thank our sponsor, Lou Malnati. Losers always still lose. And back for a limited time, Lou's is bringing back their Italian combo, deep dish combo. Holy goodness, look at all of that. What's on this bad boy, folks? Lou's lean sausage, tender Italian beef, slow roasted herbs and spices, all topped off with hot giant and Lou's tomato sauce. Make sure to order through the Lou Malnati's app. You can download that in the App Store for either Android or iPhone. And it's easy, simple, even your dad can do it. And when you do use it, you get points that eventually lead you to free Lou Malnati's. Make sure you go get this. Oh my gosh, I can't wait to go eat this. Let's get back to the episode. Make sure you go get Lou Malnati's, get that Italian deep dish combo. It is unbelievable. I've already had my full pizza already, and I recorded, 2 days ago? Probably going to get another one next weekend because it's so darn good. It's only back for a little bit of time. Make sure you go get it. Tony was at the Bears-Packers game this past Sunday. He went with our other co-host, Nick Barr. A lot of you guys have found out that he is a Packers fan, but we're not going to go into that because he only covers the Bulls. Tony, in your respect to everything, how was the energy at Soldier Field compared to games in the past you've gone to? And did you feel that the Bears played overall on Sunday?
Honestly, it was awesome. The beginning of the game was great. They were handing out these orange rally towels. Got to see if I can find mine somewhere. I may have thrown it out. I was pissed at the end of the game, but it doesn't matter. We had the best fans in the world. That's a fact. The first quarter and half of the second quarter, it kind of felt like a college football game, when the crowd's just so loud, they got to use the silent count and everything. That's kind of how it felt. So that was really cool to see. I had a great time for, like I said, the first quarter and then half of the second quarter. But then, of course, Aaron Rodgers happened. And once the Bears kind of squandered those two great opportunities in the second quarter, obviously one was BS because the ref should have called the offsides, but that was a different podcast. I'm sure you already covered it. You can kind of you could feel in the stadium that it was over. I know it was only the second quarter, but it just had that oh no, it's happening again, feeling. And we were right. So overall, it was a great time. I'd recommend a Bears Packers game to anyone. Obviously, I'm sure that's not news to anyone, but yeah.
So in regards from a fan's perspective, so you were obviously there, the energy's different when you're at the stadium, but the Bears, like you said, it felt like the Bears had a good shot at this thing for, the longest amount of time that we've had. I mean, and then at the end of the game, they were only down by 3 in the fourth quarter. The Bears were pretty much in it the whole game, and they played very well. And this Packers team is on a 5-game winning streak right now. Obviously, that week 1 against New Orleans was a fluke for them, but the Bears have gotten better every single game moving forward. So let's go into the first 6 games. Let's just calm you guys down a little bit. The Bears are 500. We know that. A lot of people thought the Bears could be 1-5 at this point. That's if Andy Dalton was quarterback. Okay, so let's just put that out there. We are not the Lions. We are technically in third place, but really tied for second with the Minnesota Vikings. The Bears 3 wins this year over the Bengals, who are 4-2, the Lions, who are 0-6. Okay, everyone's beating the Lions. But then the Raiders, who are also 4-2. And Raiders have played some good teams, and the Bears beat the Raiders. That was the upset 1 of the toughest 6-game stretch of the season for the Chicago Bears. Their losses have been to the Rams, who are 5-1, another playoff contending team, lost 34-14. They lost to Cleveland, who is 3-3 now. Cleveland's struggling a little bit. They lost 20-9. That was the Justin Field game where they just threw him out there for the Wolves. And Justin Fields been a completely different quarterback since. And then the Packers game where we lost by 10 points. But that 10 points, it was really 3 points until there was about 4.5 minutes left in the fourth quarter. So the Bears were in it for a super long time. They're beating good teams except the Lions, but the Bengals and Raiders, there's no one to play around with. They're good teams. The Bengals almost beat the Packers. Let's just put that into perspective. And you have to consider the fact of, like Tony was saying, the officiating toward the Bears was horrendous on Sunday. I mean, it always is. That neutral zone infraction call that should have been called on the Packers changed the momentum of the game. And a lot of Bears players even said it themselves. I know, Tony, you would totally agree with that. So, why we lost to the Rams, Sean Desai, rookie defensive coordinator, wasn't good at covering. Also, the offense was ran by Matt Nagy. And, Andy Dalton, not a bad quarterback, but Justin Fields would have made it a little bit more competitive, even though, Justin Fields ended up scoring a rushing touchdown that game. Cleveland, Fields was just kind of thrown out there. Matt Nagy was still firing the calls. And the Bears were competitive again against the Packers. Tony, from my viewpoint that I just said, that the Bears are 500 and they've been in games. It's not like they've been absolutely blown out in games. But yes, the Rams score looks bad, but I'm washing that. I'm washing that game because of just all those different circumstances. Over the last 5 games, though, the Bears have held their own. They have held their own. So, and they're a good team. I'm sorry, but the Bears are a good team. I don't care what people say. Some people were ranking them as the 13th team. I think it was CBS. So even analysts are saying the Bears are a good team. So are the Bears doing well through this thing so far? What are your thoughts? Did you expect more? Did you expect less? Like, before we get into the good and what needs to be improved.
Yeah, so I do expect more because like you said, the Rams game were thrown out. The Browns game, I expected more out of that. They did not perform. But like you said, with the Packers, we were there, and Aaron Rodgers is our just personal boogeyman, and that there's just nothing we can do about it at this point. But the worst part is, like I said, I expect more. If you watch the other games around the league, we're not the Lions, we're not the Giants. Those teams, they get flat out beat, outperformed. They don't have the guys to match up against real opponents. We have flashes of greatness. We have Justin Fields running one way, then running around the other way, for 20 yards, and it's awesome. Converts a big first down. They just kind of shoot themselves in the foot all the time, like we've become accustomed to as Bears fans in general. So really, what I've seen is they are beating themselves a lot of the time with the wasted offensive possessions, not being able to get off the field on defense, but we'll kind of get into that later. So that's kind of just overall, I think they are good. I think they need to play better. I know that sounds very simple, but I promise it makes sense.
I honestly think, and I couldn't agree more with you, I expect more because I feel like this is the best Bears roster we've had. I mean, obviously 2018 was a good roster, but in the last, you go back to 2010, you go back to 2013, I think this roster could easily beat those rosters. The Bears have a lot of talent. They have a lot of young talent. They have a great coaching staff, minus Matt Nagy. But I mean, as a head coach, he does fine. But as a play caller, absolutely horrendous. The Bears are good. I don't care what people say. I love when fans from other fan bases come and go. Typical Bears fans thinking their team's going to the Super Bowl. Okay, the Bears, if Matt Nagy was not calling game 1, I think that the Bears would have been more competitive against the Rams. I think that if he was not calling the Cleveland game, I think the Cleveland game would have been completely different. So the Bears easily could be at least a 4-2 team right now. They're 3-3, so they're only one game off. And the NFC North, obviously the Packers are going to cause trouble, but we're going to get into our record predictions in a little bit. But the Bears are good. I don't care what people say. Roast me. I don't care. Let's go to the good and what needs to be improved, though. And the reason why we're not saying the bad is because there's such little mistakes that can make the Bears so much better. So I'm going to kick things off with the good. We got 3 things each. Tony's going to do areas of improvement. Number 1 is the running game. David Montgomery was a top 5 running back in the NFL before his injury, and he's creating a comfort of the future of running back 1 for the Bears. Don't have to worry about draft picks anymore. Don't have to worry about free agents anymore. David Montgomery is the guy. And, shout out Ryan Pace for seeing that. And, Jordan Howard was a fine running back for the Chicago Bears for a long time, but, he wasn't going to last. And look what happened. He leaves the Bears and now no one knows where he is. So, shout out to Ryan Pace for bringing in David Montgomery. He has blossomed. He's become a great running back. Khalil Herbert was another late Ryan Pace draft. So hats off to him again. Him and Montgomery for future in years to come could be like a Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt kind of deal like the Cleveland Browns have. And that's pretty awesome. They're young, they're athletic, super exciting to see that. And Herbert's pretty darn cheap for the next couple of years. Number 2, everyone on the defense but Eddie Jackson. I'm sorry, I'm just calling him out right there. The defense is doing phenomenal, but Eddie Jackson is not playing up to his contract. He's not the Eddie Jackson that we saw a couple of years ago. He's also calling out Bears greats like Alex Brown and Lance Briggs and all these other guys. Completely unacceptable. But the Bears defense as a whole, Khalil Mack, Robert Quinn, Blau Nichols, Angelo Blackson, even Mario Edwards Jr., though that penalty was not his fault entirely. Like the taunting thing in the NFL is so soft now. But Roquan Smith, Alec Ogletree, all these guys, Jaylon Johnson, all these guys are just so good. They're playing at Pro Bowl type levels, some of the bigger names, and all pro levels. Roquan Smith better get it this year. But the Bears have so much talent on the defensive side of the ball. A lot of these guys are in their prime. A lot of these guys haven't even entered their prime yet. So, Khalil Mack, Robert Quinn are in their prime. Roquan Smith, Jaylon Johnson, they're going to be future, Hall of Famers potentially if they keep this play up. Definitely Roquan Smith for sure. But, the Bears have a good future on their defense too. And you have Sean Desai. Hopefully he's going to stay around for a couple of years. And then finally, Justin Fields' continuous improvement. Every game he gets better. Every game he's slinging it harder. He's, getting it to his guys downfield. There's more big action plays. He's being smarter with the football. He looks more comfortable in the pocket. That's the good that the Bears need, and that's what's going to help them be better after, the first 6 weeks of the season. And that's why they've gotten better every game since week 1. So that's the good. And Tony, please throw any more comments in if you have any before areas of improvement.
Yeah, so my one comment I'll make is I was right about Khalil Herbert. I've started him in fantasy the last 2 weeks. He's awesome. He's looked amazing, and I totally agree with you. We got that 1-2 punch now. Damian Williams is cool and all. I know he was out this week with COVID, but Khalil Herbert is just on a different level. That athleticism, like you said, runs hard, trying to earn his spot. So just wanted to toot my own horn. Love Khalil Herbert. I hope he continues his success. They keep running the ball with him in the coming weeks. But we'll get into the areas of improvement. My first one is just for the defense, getting out the field on third down. I say it every time I'm on.
Every week.
Well, that's because it keeps happening. I wouldn't be saying it if they were getting off the field on third down. Like the defense, they play well on first and second down. And then, especially at Soldier Field, you get the air raid siren going. Everyone's excited. And they just get they get leaky on third down. It's never a big play, which I think is the issue because I think they're playing I don't want to call it scared, but I'm going to call it scared. A little scared on third down, just too conservative. And they're trying to keep everything in front of them, just, force it to, 4th and 2, make them punt. And I think that is, with the Bears in the past, it's like, we don't want to give up a big play and force our offense to have to come back and score. But that's different now that we have Justin Fields. And it kind of, we saw it against the Packers. It was a little Randall Cobb short slant that'll get just enough yards, keep the drive alive. Then they got to do it again. They just get tired over and over. So get out the field on third down. Whatever you got to do, dial up a blitz. Sean Desai, I trust you. It's his 5th game, he's defensive coordinator. So I believe in him. Oh, 6th game. My apologies. Yes. 6th game as defensive coordinator. I don't even count the Rams game. So yeah, but moving into the second one. Now this goes back to the offense, the wasted offensive possessions. I mentioned it before. Like we saw against the Packers, they play, and they do this every week. They play well with those first 15 scripted plays. But once they kind of have to make those decisions on the fly, those in-game adjustments, they kind of fall apart. They try to get too cute on first down. Then they run the ball on, for 2 yards on second down, try to, right the ship a little. But then you're in third and long or third and, medium, something where it's not exactly manageable. So obviously it's hard to convert. And against a team like the Lions, that doesn't matter. That's something you can overcome. But against like a real team like the Packers, I keep not referencing the Browns or the Rams games, because those were Dalton was in for the Rams and the Browns. I mean, that was just Matt Nagy being an idiot, but that's a whole different story. But against these teams like the Packers, and we'll see, I'm sure, against the Bucs, you can't just dial up a Madden play, to get you out of 3rd and 13 every time. You have to use the first down, second down plays well. At least get to, even if it's 3rd and 3, that's fine. Then you can run the ball. Maybe they at least think you can run the ball. Something where you're not just on your heels. The defense can pin their ears back and get after Justin Fields. And third, the fundamental mistakes. So we could say this about the coaching staff as well, but this applies to offense and defense. On defense, like you mentioned with Eddie Jackson, but it's kind of been just in general a kind of a problem. Like when I said they're leaky, they're kind of just missing tackles, or they're not wrapping up fully. They're not, they're letting these guys pick up a few extra yards where they do get that first down and they do have to stay on the field. So I mean, that's just the fundamentals. I'm not out there teaching them how to tackle, so someone else is going to have to do that job.
They need you.
Yeah, honestly. So on offense, though, I'm going to throw a little shade at Justin Fields here. He still fumbles it and overthrows it a little. Like it's those little mistakes that they're totally fixable, which is the good thing. However, he's got to fix them. That's just kind of, it is what it is. But as well as the offensive line, choosing like on every 6th play to just not block anyone. And like I said, where it's, whether they're trying to get too cute on first down and, someone just gets right through, totally a drive killer. They just have to be more disciplined, honestly, on both sides. It's really what it is. And again, they're not a bad team. They are a good team. It's these simple mistakes. Like even against the Browns, we saw on that 4th and 2, they just had to run the ball to the right, or just, bring an extra block or whatever it was, not get too cute. But overall, those are my biggest areas of improvement. Everything else is just kind of, I think, stems from those issues. So I think it's all fixable too, which is a great thing.
I couldn't agree more in regards to the offensive line play. I mean, it's true. Like when you're like sitting there and you're like, we should start doing a count like every single time. So when is Fields going to be running for his life? Probably on the 6th or 7th play, every offensive play, because it's, the scripted offense that Matt Nagy runs. But, all those are just very easily fixable mistakes. You are playing in the NFL. You are one of the best athletes in the world at the sport that you do. You should be able to fix these mistakes quickly. And I wish the Bears coaches definitely see this kind of stuff all the time. It's just, how are they going to handle it? We don't know. So let's go quickly through our scheduled predictions. We're going to go week by week, and Tony and I are going to give our opinions on each week. So week 7 is against the Bucs. The Bears are 3-3 right now. I'll kick things off. I think that the Bears are going to lose next week against Tom Brady and the GOAT. As the GOAT. It's just so hard going into Tampa Bay, especially with how hot they are. And okay, my prediction gets much better, but overall, I think that this is going to be a loss for the Bears, and it's an understandable loss considering how good Tampa is and how the Bears are still itching at getting better. But after this game, I think things are going to start turning around for the Bears, because this is going to be the nail in the coffin of we're done being bad, we want to be good. So I got the Bears 3-4 after week 7.
Well, I am actually going to go with a win here, because everyone thinks the Bears are going to get blown out. Tom Brady's coming back for his revenge from last year when he was made a fool and thought, lost track of the downs. I don't think so. I think the Bears win. I think, we'll get into it more, I'm sure, later this week with our pregame stuff. I just think the Bears win. It is what it is. You can tell me I'm wrong, but we won't find out till Sunday anyway.
Yeah. So, I hope Tony's right. I'm just but here's where things start getting better, folks. Week 8 against 49ers at Soldier Field. I got the Bears winning. That means they're 4-4. They're back to 500. The Niners are 2-3 right now. They're unsure of their quarterback position. They're dealt with injuries as always. Just the Niners don't look good. So they're coming to Soldier Field, hard place to play, especially in front of the greatest fans of the world. Bears are 4-4 after week 8.
Yeah, so I think this is also a win. I think the 49ers kind of stink. I think the defense will feast. And I think Justin Fields will have a big game. Obviously, he's finally getting those consistent weeks of practice at number 1, which he should have had all offseason, but that's a whole different story. So I think they win again. Bears are 5-3 heading into week 9.
Week 9 at Pittsburgh. I got the Bears winning this one. They're not the dynasty is over for the Steelers, in Big Ben. This is it for him. The Bears can, take them down as a defense and an offense. The offensive line definitely has to show up against Pittsburgh's tough defense, but one hit on Big Ben by Mack or Quinn, he's out for the game. And I got the Bears winning this one. They're 5-4 after week 9.
Yeah, the Bears winning this one. I know this is starting to sound a little crazy. But there is a path to win all these games. I know when we looked at the schedule at the start of the year, it was, we'll chalk up 16 straight losses, near the end of the year. But like we said, Big Ben is not the same Big Ben. The Steelers defense is great. It will be the issue. It will have to be won on the defensive side. And I do think the Bears could do it, especially Steelers have a couple of injury issues. Juju Smith-Schuster is, I think he's out for the year. So I think the Bears win. I believe this one's on Monday Night Football too. So that'll be a fun one.
So then we go to week 10. That's a bye week. So the Bears will rest up. There we go. That's a W for us too. So the Bears are 4-5 entering week 11 against the Ravens at home. I'm going to go with the loss on this one. And this is one of the last losses for the Bears that I have. The Ravens are just too fast. And I think that it's going to be tough to take them down. If Eddie Jackson continues to play that he's going to get exposed. Lamar Jackson's going to find a way to either run around him or, throw to someone deep around him. But I think it's going to be, and if Fields isn't in a rhythm of throwing, or the offense getting consistently 300 yards a game, especially Fields getting at least over 250 passing yards a game, I don't think the Bears have a chance of beating the Ravens this time around. The reason why I say this time around is we'll come back to that in a little bit, but I got the Bears at 5-5 after week 11.
I think the Bears also win this game. I think that they're coming off a much needed bye, getting a little rest. They're going to game plan a little better. The Bears will shut down the run game, and then Lamar's going to be forced to pass. I'm still not convinced he's a great passer. I know he's had a couple, against the Colts and everything, but I also think the Colts think that's a whole different thing. Jaylon Johnson's going to have a game-changing pick, and the Bears will roll again, 7-3 going into week 12 against the Lions.
If that actually happens, I'll buy Tony 5 cases of High Noon. There's no doubt about that. Or whatever beer he wants. So week 12 against the Lions, easy win, 6-5. Lions stink. That's just what it is. They won't win at that point anyway.
Yep. Bears W, 8-3. Lions stink going into week 13 against the Cardinals.
Cardinals at home. I got this being the Bears' last loss of the season, so they'll be 6-6. The Cardinals are legit. They're 6-0 right now. We saw this. You know, the Cardinals could go very deep this year, but I got the Bears losing at home to the Cardinals, unfortunately. But again, that's my last loss of the year for the Bears.
So I almost got a little crazy with this, but then I didn't, and I gave the Bears a W because this is a classic trap game for the Cardinals coming off a bye. You know, I know I just said the Bears are going to win coming off a bye. But that's Arizona. They don't know what they're doing. Yeah, they still got Cliff Kingsbury in there. He's too pretty, taking his bye week out in LA. So I think Khalil Mack sacks Kyler Murray at least twice to go along with 3 other sacks by the team. And they win again, 9-3 going into week 14 against the Green Bay Packers at Lambeau Field.
I think everyone's starting to predict your season record at the end, Tony. But hey, you never know. Week 14 at Green Bay. I got the Bears winning this game. 7-6, revenge game. The Packers won the first battle. They haven't won the war yet. You know, Mac, Hicks, and Quinn are pissed about the "I own you" comments that Aaron Rodgers said. I got the Bears going up to Green Bay and winning this one. Score prediction's not going to be out till week 14, so stay tuned against that. But also, I got the Bears. Again, I said the war. And, you can't say, oh, well, then that's a draw if each of them win a battle. The war is not over at that point either. Stay tuned for a little bit more. So Bears 7-6 after week 14.
Yeah, I have the Bears winning this game too. This is a pride game. I cannot pick the Bears to lose this game. I could have said, whoever else they were playing the few weeks before, I would never pick against them in this game because you're fighting for your city at this point after what happened. Matt Nagy should play that "I own you" clip at Hallis Hall a million times. It should never be turned off. All week long, Sunday night football, unless they flex it, which they might. But if the Bears aren't 10-3 or 9-3 going into this week, this is a pride game. You have to win this game. If they don't win this game, I might stop being a fan.
So, oh, Jesus. Well, we all know that won't happen. So let's just make this easy on you guys. Tony and I got the Bears winning out the rest of the season from this point. So let's go into our, they're going to beat the Vikings. They're going to beat the Seahawks. They're going to beat the Giants. They're going to beat the Vikings again. So overall, the Bears are looking like at the end of the season, they're going to come alive. They're going to be a Super Bowl contender. So record predictions, Tony, your record obviously is pretty obvious from what you were saying earlier. So 14-3 for Tony, probably should be a 1 seed with a bye, according to him. Bears will be recording a new Super Bowl shuffle before the NFC Championship game. And then I got the Bears in at 11-6. They're going to be a wild card team because the Packers are going to have a slightly better record. But again, I said this earlier, the Packers have not won the war yet. They've only won one battle. Bears are going to beat them in the NFC Championship to go to the Super Bowl, crushing Aaron Rodgers' dreams. It's going to be more bittersweet than it's going to be even sweeter than beating him in his last game at Soldier Field in the Packers uniform. It's going to be way better in the NFC Championship game to not send the Packers to the Super Bowl. So, Tony, anything else before it goes out?
Yeah, I think my record is pretty. I think it's definitely possible, and I think the Bears are going to finish 14-3. The only reason they won't get the 1 seed is if maybe the Rams rattle off, end up being 15-2. But there is a path. I know it's crazy. They're probably not going to go 14-3, but there is a path.
All right. Well, I love it. If the Bears go 14-3, I am saying this right now, Tony, I will buy you any keg of beer you want. And I will pay for all your Ubers for the whole month of March. How about that?
Deal.
All right, Tony's going to make me go bankrupt if they go 14-3. So you heard it here first. We think the Bears are going to make the playoffs. They will make the playoffs. So do not lose hope yet. Do not be upset. We are optimistic. We love it. Tony, thank you for joining as always.
Of course. Yeah, happy to be here. And let's go Bears.
Bear down. Let's get it. Bears are going to the Super Bowl. We all know that. Thank you very much for joining this episode of Just Another Year Chicago. My name is Nick Rohde, joined alongside Tony Sapita, and we will see you guys next time.